Hi, everybody. Michael McGinnis here. This podcast, Three Frameworks I Live By. So let's just begin. Definition of a framework, just to give us grounding: an essential supporting structure of a building, vehicle, or object. So I would just really change this to my definition to be an essential supporting structure for my life. And there's three of them. I think we all have certain elements, religions or prayers or mantras or activities we do that really help to provide a structure for our life. They keep us grounded, centered, and overall in a direction more towards our happiness than pain and suffering. And obviously, there's a ton of things out there. These are just really the three things that I, over time, have adopted more so than anything else. Is it only these three? No way. But is it predominantly these three? Yes, it would be. So this post is about the three frameworks I use to provide a structure to give my life meaning and definition, and methods to remain resilient and focused. They are analogous to building a supporting structure to keep a building functional, sturdy, and having structural integrity. I prefer the word framework over belief or philosophy, since a framework provides structure. Why a framework or structure? Well, for those that have lived a fair amount of life comes the realization that life can be difficult and challenging at times, right? Very often, it's a critical aspect of life, right? It's what precipitates and promotes growth, right? Which I believe is the ultimate reason for us being here on Earth. It is during these times that having a supporting structure helps to weather these storms, right? So again, analogous to whether it's the root structure for a tree, the foundation for a house, or ourselves, these kinds of frameworks give us a structure, that otherwise that we can, in lieu of like a tree weathering a storm, we ourselves weather an emotional storm, a physical storm, or whatever the case may be. And just like strong foundations can provide the support for a building experiencing significant storms or natural disasters, these can provide us that structure as well for those times when we're off kilter. Our beliefs can help to deal with these times, but a framework gives us a structure to resort to so that we have things to do in chaotic times to keep us more centered. I'm not suggesting that the three frameworks I use should be your frameworks at all, but that you should each have frameworks to be resilient when facing difficult times. And I'm sure you probably already do. And if not, this is the opportunity to be able to create elements in your life to give you that structure. We're creatures of habit. We resort to things like structure to help keep us grounded. Again, just like nature does with trees and foundations do for buildings. I hope that at least the discussion here results in you considering what your support structures look like or what options you might want to consider. Does yours provide a structure, a framework, provide you with beliefs, philosophy, and steps to take? It is that last item that I found missing and critical to helping my resilience and focus. Steps to take, right? I can recite prayers, I can contemplate, my beliefs about life, but it's that steps that provide me again with structure. Framework number one. This is a relatively newcomer. I'd heard this name before and I'd never really pursued it. And once I did, I found that it was awesome. Stoicism. We may have heard the term Stoic, or Stoicism is sort of the philosophy, and I'll be talking about that. In fact, I begin with that. Stoicism, a philosophy designed to make us more resilient, happier, more virtuous, and more wise, and as a result, better people, better parents, and better professionals. That actually came from a daily email that I get from a site, dailystoic.com. A brief introduction from the resource noted above. Stoicism is a tool in the pursuit of self-mastery, perseverance, and wisdom, something one uses to live a great life rather than some esoteric field of academic inquiry. Certainly, many of history's great minds not only understood Stoicism for what it truly is, they sought it out. Individuals like George Washington, Walt Whitman, Frederick the Great, Eugene Delacroix, Adam Smith, Immanuel Kant, Thomas Jefferson, Matthew Arnold, Ambrose Bierce, if I pronounced that right, sorry, Theodore Roosevelt, William Alexander Percy, Ralph Waldo Emerson, and in this case, each read, studied, quoted, and admired the Stoics. The ancient Stoics themselves were no slouches. The names you encounter on this site in our daily email meditations are such as Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, Seneca, etc. They all belong to, respectfully, a Roman emperor, a former slave who triumphed to become an influential lecturer and friend of Emperor Hadrian, and a famous playwright and political advisor. And that, of course, is Marcus Aurelius. In my actual blog post, there are videos to support this. This video is on 3 Stoic mantras, a great way to sort of consider some of the ways of which they introduce, the key word is philosophy, right? This is a group of people that discovered this that are 2,000 years ago. It blew me away when I really started to think about that. And as I read more and more about this, and here they were on the early part of developing this concept of philosophy, which is very different than how we consider philosophy today. Philosophy is sort of like a course, something we take, or maybe an understanding or a view of understanding. Philosophy there, if I'm saying it right, really help to guide a structure for how you live your life. And so therefore, they had the philosophy to really help them through the ups and downs of life. Well, I'm going to review those 3 mantras. That's only a part, an aspect of Stoicism, but it sort of gives you an idea of some of these aspects of Stoicism that help to ground us, to give us a structure, and to recite as we're going through these types of change. Mantra number 1, and I'm not going to do it justice reading it because it's in Latin, amor fate, love fate. This is the practice of loving everything that happens, not just accepting it, not just tolerating it, but leaning into it. And I want to reinforce that statement because it certainly challenged me. And it's the practice of loving everything that happens, not just good things, everything that happens. Wow. And that's what really caught my eye because I found it incredibly powerful. So examples that were used is, for example, is when you're stuck in traffic, criticized on Twitter or by your boss, experience a financial loss or even the death of a loved one, you recite amor fate, in effect. I think it's pronounced something different. But anyways, you get the gist of it. That I will be better for this happening to me is what it means. It serves as a reminder that life happens. You do not control what happens to you or around you, and that life can be very challenging at times. As you look back at the challenges you've had in the past, you realize that you made it through these challenges and may even be a better and a stronger person as a result. You take what you can from these experiences, you use it as a fuel, you become improved by it. It turns the bad things in life into good things. Again, really incredibly profound. My teenage years and young adult life were very challenging. I've shared that in a number of my posts and stories. It's a way to really to just help people understand, where we come from, in part really defines a lot of who we are and where we go in life. And in their case of having a difficult, abusive, trauma-oriented past can really change the nature of people. As many of them I found, go downhill fast and they become negative or end up in prison or commit violence or suicide. And so it's a lot to be able to get out of that. I lost my mother at age 14 and I acted out a lot in anger and frustration. It was easy during that time. And the way I perceived myself as I started to go into my early adult life, oh, I was clearly a victim, right? You hear this story before. Oh, my parents. And in reality, it was. But victim really means that I chose not to take responsibility for it. It was easier to just blame others for our woes and sorrows, and that way we don't have to take responsibility. But this did not resolve my own issues. It only justified them. The pain and suffering I experienced for years, decades after this traumatic period was intense. My brother committed suicide from his own exposure to these times. I thought about ending my own life at times. I share this with the hope that you may realize that you can overcome these challenges too, even when they feel so intense and the resulting feeling is out of desperation or depression. Through counseling and therapy with a major emphasis on my personal growth, I began to self-correct my life, along with my self-esteem and worth. I made a conscious choice to be a victim no more. I decided to take charge of my life. This attitude, which was under my control to follow or not, was the basis for my recovery, resilience, inner strength, belief system, etc. Years later, I realized the positives that came from this very troubled past. Yes, that's correct. Positives from such negativity. It helped me to become the person I am today, along with my ability and desire to help others who had gone through similar experiences in their own life. I had achieved amore fate. Mantra number 2, memento mori. Okay, tough one. I thought the first one was tough. Now this is I'm going to get the idea of this framework. And again, this is only a piece of it. Memento mori. Remember, you will die. And as they state related to this in the video, it says, you go through shit. You go through trouble. It is the way of life. Someone cheats on you, betrays you, steals from you, lies to you, gets what you deserve, backstabs you, criticizes you, berates you. You feel a wide range of negative emotions and even use these experiences to shape the beliefs in who and what you are. For example, unworthy, fearful, angry, depressed, etc. Or you learn to respond with something like, life is short. I'm going to die. So why should I take any of this seriously? Let it weigh on you, create further stress, or even hold on to it. When you become rich and famous, achieve 1 million Instagram follows, get nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize, get a call from the president, you remember that you can't take any of this with you, just as the billions of others who had great experiences who are now dead, just as you will be. Say to the good and bad things in your life that we will die, so that the good things will be accepted without arrogance, and let the bad things go, so not to let them get the better of you. Well, again, I told you, it can get under your skin, and if you practice and understand it, that getting under the skin can be for really good reason and outcomes. The mantra memento mori reminds us that we will grow old and die, that we will be just another marker in a cemetery. As morbid as this may sound, I have found that it brings much greater meaning to the moment, no matter what I am experiencing in this moment. I humbly accept the honors or set aside the accusations, realizing that this will all be a moment we had in this life. That's it. It will also be a reminder to appreciate the moments we do have while we have them. As I'm getting older, I am realizing the benefit of this mantra and find myself repeating it more often. It also suggests a key question. Is this where I want to be spending my moment? Great thought. Bad and negative. All right, give it its moment and then move on. Memento mori. Mantra 3, you control how you play. Again, it's powerful. It really puts that emphasis in the mirror right on you. Play, in this case, is how you choose to perform, be, or act. No matter what you do, what your level is, how much you earn, whether you are a pro or novice, others will be there to criticize you, to tell you what to do, to bully you, to provide you with excuses, or to pull you down. Boy, as I read that, I just recalled of how so much of my life related to that is others wanting to strive to get ahead, and at any means possible, and very often it came at the expense of others. Often these factors cause us to perform under our potential, right? We accept that. We come to believe in that. We are influenced by what others say and think about us. We cannot control what others say, but what we do have in our control is how we choose to play, whatever it is we are doing. Remember, play in this case is how you choose to perform. In the video, he shares his example of sharing this message with professional athletes. It is learning how to disregard what others say and making the choice to perform to our full potential, right? You see that now, particularly in these days with sports stars all on social media, the criticism, the critique, the Monday morning quarterback, all quick to blame and put down those who caused us this loss from our team. Athletes are bombarded with social media, who loves us when we perform well and hates us when we do not. But it should not be what others think that drive our performance. This is the power of this mantra, a reminder that we control how well we perform. All you control is how you play, the effort you bring, the decisions you make, the principles by which you operate, and that's ultimately all you can judge yourself on. You don't control the facts. You don't control anything but how you played. Focus on what you control and you'll be happier and have way more energy, have more focus on what is in front of us and then accomplishing this. Focus on what we are responsible for doing and do it, not the distractions. The internal power that is generated by these mantras and philosophy is to strengthen our mental conditioning so that we learn to disregard what others say and only judge ourselves by our action. Stoicism, right? Something to consider. Just research it. If nothing else, it's a getting acquainted to a mindset, a philosophy that originated 2,000 years ago, right? My mindset there is almost cavemen, at that point, only to realize that they were incredibly smart, intellectual people. And here we are going through life here in cycles. And there was this incredible cycle where people right there were defining life in ways of which, we are hearing it very often today, but sometimes even in a better way. My framework number 2, gratitude. One of the exercises my therapist gave to me was to begin each day identifying simple things that I was thankful for. I had to ask for examples since when he asked me, Michael, what are you thankful for? My mind was blank. I was too angry with my life situation to be thankful for anything. She provided me with some examples, such as being thankful for my health, the ability to use all my 5 senses, to breathe quality air, sunshine, etc. My first response is, what? I mean, these seem too basic. But despite my resistance, which is what that was, right? I didn't want to do that because I wanted to focus on this energy, this anger, and live in that state, right? That's what we tend to prefer because it saves us from feeling the real pain and suffering. It's great, and it's a lot easier when we become angry at others. But despite my resistance, I began to put it into practice. She suggested that I recite the basic things that I am grateful for and then consider others. My homework was to come up with at least one new item each day, and that I had to share these with her during my session. It was not long before I had a good list of items that I recited each morning. I was starting to realize that no matter how difficult my life was at that time, there's always aspects of my life that I can be grateful for. By identifying and reciting these, I could learn how to focus on some positives about my life versus being consumed and focused only on the negatives. It took a while, but I began to feel the benefits. I actually downloaded a gratitude app on my phone, which provided me with a fun way to begin my day. What I was realizing was that by focusing on what we are grateful for at the beginning of each day helps to set a more positive tone for the day, particularly when you are going through a difficult time. Negativity, as we know, begets negativity. Misery loves company. This is compounded by the negativity we experience during the day, the commute and traffic, being bombarded by negative news and events on the daily news. The result is that we become more negative ourselves. which results in our unhappiness, anger, sadness, depression. The simple act of reminding ourselves what we are thankful for in the morning and often throughout the day can put a dent in this frustration and unhappiness and begin to turn around our thoughts. Our thoughts are like a freight train out of control. They tend to run amok and focus on what is in our ego. If we've been hurt, our ego is hurt, which will continue to remind us of negative and fearful thoughts that seem impossible to sideline. Our mind just dwells on that. It's the nature of us. To attempt to stop these thoughts only leads to more frustration, since the thoughts become stronger, which is what the ego does. Instead, we learn to override these thoughts with more positive thoughts. Repeating this daily along with meditation, which slows down our thoughts, can generate greater levels of peace that supports developing more positive thoughts, mindset, and ultimately attitude and beliefs. I challenge you each to listen to a video that I have in my blog, The Perspective of the Wise Old Man. It's a TED Talk. It's called Gratitude by famous filmmaker Louis Schwartzberg. And again, it's on the TEDx. And it's well worth, again, watching. And for those that understand it, may watch it like myself frequently. The perspective of the wise old man it features is absolutely amazing. Frankly, it also helped me deal with the fact that I'm getting older. Practicing gratitude also aligns well with the principles of Stoicism. They both provide a mental framework for dealing with life's challenges while maintaining a more positive outlook. I can attest to the increase in my overall happiness, which is always welcome and wonderful to feel. Check it out and monitor how you feel while listening to it. Beware that your ego and thoughts will attempt to remind you of why you should feel angry, hurt, depressed, sad. Your daily practice is how you place greater focus on the positives versus the negatives. All right, so how we are. Framework number 3, Abraham Hicks. All right, this is going to probably challenge most, as it did me. There's a strong spiritual aspect of this that, again, you might not agree with. Okay, so on and so forth. I totally accept, respect those kinds of feelings. However, what is shared is incredible truth. It has worked tremendously now for myself, but thousands of others come from all walks of life. Based on my deep interest in learning about the meaning of life, I discovered beliefs, concepts, philosophies, and more that challenged the heck out of me. My quest to understand life, death, and what lies beyond has been an integral part of my life since my early 30s. It began as a result of my past trauma and understanding why I had to experience so much pain and suffering. It resulted initially in a decision to hang up a great job in corporate America for a backpack where I would spend the better part of 4 years backpacking and volunteering around the world in some of the most challenging and difficult circumstances. I left on what I refer to as a modern-day vision quest. There's a video about the modern-day vision quest. It's on my YouTube channel. It's a pretty lengthy one. It's about 2 hours. It was actually a recording of a talk that I did, a virtual talk at that time of the modern-day vision quest. Check it out. One of my many outcomes from this was opening my mind to new ideas. I realized why these experiences are often referred to as mind-blowing, because they do blow away your preconceived notions, paradigms, and beliefs. If you open your mind, consider them, doesn't mean you have to accept them. And that's the story of Abraham, right? Which will likely challenge you. But for those with an open mind, along with listening to her talks, may put a dent in your armor. If not, that's okay too. Since I'm not trying to convince you to use this or any practice, you have to find your own way. Related to Abraham, the premise, in my own words, is that since we are emotional beings, as she says, and I get that, we really are. If you look at our nature, we really are emotional. We live on an emotional sense of highs and lows. Our ability The premise is that since we are emotional beings, our ability to raise our level of energy, emotion, and thought opens the door to manifesting our desires and dreams. It, in effect, opens the door to a better life, right? We all talk about our dreams and what we desire in life too. Well, this is one of the recipes to help get there. We come to realize that we are our own worst enemy as we focus on the negative concerns, issues, distractions that only serve to reduce our energy and vibration levels, which prevents us from opening doors so that more positive experiences can lead us to our greatest desires and dreams. That's the essence of it. It's powerful, profound. She provides a structure using 5 levels, which can challenge the heck out of you. Although the idea of manifesting great things sounds awesome, it is the idea of doing the work to remain positive and feeling good that has been the most helpful me to begin with. I listen and re-listen to Abraham videos daily. Fortunately, there's probably thousands of them on YouTube alone. They remind me and challenge me to find ways to feel better, which is also characteristic of Stoicism and gratitude. So again, I was starting to find this common link amongst my structure of things that all were helping me to produce a much more positive outlook by beginning to quiet my mind and think more positive thoughts. What helped me to be open to Abraham and other spiritual concepts was my modern day vision quest I referred to before, which confirmed to me that there indeed is meaning to life and that life continues beyond our death of our physical being. I wish that everyone could make such a request, not meaning that you had to do what I had to do, but just that you come to some understanding of death and what lies beyond. It's an incredible sense of peace and comfort when we have done our homework and come to understand death, something that's in front of all of us, as well as our loved ones and people we know. Some may subscribe to religious beliefs or pursue their own path, which is what I did. I had to prove it first before I would accept the notion of life after death. We are death-averse culture where we choose to avoid the topic of death, even though we will all experience. And remember the reminder, memento mori, right? It's that daily reminder, that little mantra you can repeat to yourself, particularly as you're going through positive and or negative times, that we too will die. Just a good reminder. Unfortunately, our society tends to think of those things as, why are you being so morbid? Well, I don't see it as being morbid at all. I see it as just confronting our reality. And there's benefit to confronting our reality, particularly if it's something that we're going to experience. It allows us time to sort of contemplate it, consider it, and maybe adjust how we think about it. Back to Abraham. We raise our vibration or energy by focusing on a benign topic. We come to focus and learn that negativity begins with a thought that we give more and more focus to, which will result in us feeling worse, terrible, angry, upset, depressed. The thought gains our energy and becomes harder and harder to stop. Instead, we focus on something that is neutral, such as a color, a pencil, an inanimate object, or some other very lighthearted thought. We ask ourselves, what do we like about the color yellow or a pencil? The thought is distracting us and results in slowing the momentum of our negative thoughts. A meditation or nap can also be used to work back yourself to a neutral setting, to get away from that intensity of the negativity taking over. Then we begin to affirm positive aspects of self, such as, hey, I'm feeling okay right now. I'm feeling a little bit better. Actually, I'm feeling excited right now. And keep saying these to ourselves, these little positive mantra affirmations to help raise our vibration and energy. She shares several tools that help with us. My favorite visualization relates to the tuner on a radio that she uses. She states that the station we really like to listen to is on a certain frequency, right? Here's a station, it's on 91.1, right? Direct, it's not on 91.2 or 91.0, right? It's specifically on 99.1 to operate and listen to that frequency. But we find that we have locked in on a frequency that plays depressing music, say, right? We visualize changing our frequency to hear more positive thoughts and then recite these thoughts to ourselves. Repetition is key for all of these techniques to be successful. You must commit. So very often I'd have that visualization that I'm actually turning a radio dial to turn off of that negativity. And I'm turning, and in my mind, I'm finding a more positive station, something, the other music that I may like. It's classical music. For me, it's rock and roll, or other things that sort of bring back something a little more positive, a positive feeling. So we covered a lot. I hope that this discussion, this post, inspired to you in some small way to find a structure in your own life to deal with the challenges that life introduces, and ultimately results in greater levels of happiness and satisfaction. If you're interested in discussing this further or hosting talks on the topic of personal growth, self-discovery, and enlightenment, please be sure to contact me. My website, growhumanpotential.com. My email, growhumanpotential@gmail.com. Thanks for listening. Have a great day.